The red sun of Corvus Prime was dying. Emperor Vextar stood on his palace balcony, watching the crimson light fade across his crumbling capital city. Below him, smoke rose from burning buildings where rebels had struck again. The great Corvani empire that once ruled 300 star systems now held only 12 worlds, and even those were slipping away. Vextar's scaled hands gripped the stone railing. His empire was falling apart, piece by piece. The Nexari crystal beings had turned, their sharp minds against him. The bug-like Threx used their hive mind to coordinate attacks across multiple worlds. Even the gas cloud people called Volanti had stopped obeying his commands. All the species he had conquered over the centuries now wanted freedom. "My lord," came a voice behind him. General Kethmar, his military commander, approached with heavy steps. "The reports from the outer systems are not good." Vextar did not turn around. "Tell me." "We lost contact with 3 more outposts yesterday. The Nexari rebels destroyed them completely. Our forces on Threx Prime are surrounded, and the Volanti have blockaded the trading routes to the spiral arm sectors." The Emperor's claws scraped against the stone. "How many ships do we have left?" 2,300 warships across all fleets, my lord. But many crews are talking about surrender." Vextar finally turned. His yellow eyes blazed with anger. "Surrender? The Corvani Empire does not surrender. We have ruled the galaxy for 800 years. "Yes, my lord, but nothing." Vextar walked past the general into his throne room. The massive chamber was empty except for guards. Once hundreds of alien ambassadors would bow before his throne. Now, only fear and silence filled the space. "Send Captain Kim to see me." General Kethmar looked confused. "Which captain?" "Kim, my lord. We have several. Daeho Kim, the one who commands the Sovereign's Wrath, the human-born one." "Ah, yes, my lord. The one whose parents fled from the Terra sector before we claimed it." Vextar nodded. Captain Daeho Kim was unusual in the Imperial fleet. His parents had escaped from some distant world called Earth before the Empire had even found that region of space. They raised their son to serve the Empire, and Daeho had become one of their best captains. He was loyal, smart, and did not ask too many questions. An hour later, Captain Kim entered the throne room. He was tall for a human, with black hair and calm eyes. He wore the dark blue uniform of the Imperial Navy with perfect creases. Behind him walked his 2 top officers. Lieutenant Commander Somin Park was a Nexari who had chosen to serve the Empire despite her people's rebellion. Her crystalline skin caught the light as she moved. She was the best tactical officer in the fleet, able to think 3 steps ahead of any enemy. Chief Engineer Wu Jin Lee was human like his captain. His family had died in one of the Threx uprisings 2 years ago, but he still served with dedication. He kept the ship's engines running better than anyone else in the fleet. "Your Majesty," Captain Kim said, bowing low. His officers did the same. "Captain Kim," Vextar said from his throne, "I have a special mission for you." "I am ready to serve, Your Majesty." The Emperor stood and walked down the steps. "Our sensors have detected strange readings in the outer rim. Something new has appeared near the edge of our territory. Something we have never seen before." He handed Kim a data pad. The captain studied the information, his face showing no emotion. "The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases," Vextar continued. "It appeared 3 days ago. Since then, it has been scanning our space, learning about our defenses, studying our fleet positions." Lieutenant Commander Park spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, the energy signature suggests a single vessel, but the power readings are unusual." "How unusual?" the Emperor asked. "They are very high, Your Majesty, higher than our largest battleships." Vextar's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps it is a new rebel weapon, or maybe one of the free species has built something dangerous. I want you to investigate, Captain Kim. Take your ship and find out what this thing is." "Yes, Your Majesty." "What are my orders if it proves hostile?" "Destroy it," Vextar said without hesitation. "We cannot afford to let our enemies have new weapons. The Empire has enough problems already. Captain Kim bowed again. It will be done, Your Majesty. 2 hours later, the Sovereign's Wrath left orbit around Corvus Prime. The ship was a kilometer long, bristling with plasma cannons and missile tubes. It carried a crew of 800, all loyal to the Empire. As they jumped into hyperspace, Captain Kim stood on the bridge studying the sensor data. "What do you think, Somin?" he asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Park manipulated the holographic display showing the mysterious energy readings. "The patterns are very organized, Captain. Too organized to be natural. And the scanning sweep suggests advanced sensors more advanced than ours." "Could it be a ship from beyond the Empire's borders?" Chief Engineer Lee asked. "Something from the unexplored regions?" "Possible," Captain Kim said. "The Empire has not mapped everything in this galaxy." The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the engines. The crew worked at their stations, but Kim could sense their nervousness. Everyone knew the Empire was dying. Every day brought news of another defeat, another world lost to rebellion. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission." "From where?" "The source is the object we are investigating, sir. It is broadcasting on all frequencies." Captain Kim felt a chill run down his spine. "Put it on speakers." Static filled the bridge, then strange sounds that their translation computers could not understand. The words were alien, but something about them seemed almost familiar. "The universal translator is having trouble," Park reported. "The language patterns are unlike anything in our database, but there are similarities to old Terra dialects." "Terra?" Kim asked. His parents had mentioned that name before. The world they came from, far away in unknown space. "Yes, Captain, the computer is trying to match the patterns, but..." Suddenly, the static cleared. A voice spoke in perfect Corvani, clear and strong. "Attention, Corvani vessel. This is Admiral Hyun-Soo Choi of the Terran Federation starship Indomitable. Please respond." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the speakers in shock. "Did they say Terran Federation?" Lee whispered. Captain Kim's hands tightened on his command chair. His parents had told him stories about Terra, about Earth, about humans who lived free among the stars. He had thought they were just old tales. "Captain," Park said quietly, "should we respond?" Kim looked at his crew. They were all waiting for his decision. In the distance, a mysterious ship waited with impossible power readings. An empire crumbled behind them. And now, voices from his parents' homeworld spoke across the void. "Open a channel," he said finally. "Channel open, Captain." Kim stood up straight, his voice steady despite the storm of thoughts in his mind. "This is Captain Daeho Kim of the Imperial vessel Sovereign's Wrath. I hear you, Admiral Choi. There." Was a pause, then the voice came back, warmer now. "Captain Kim, we have been waiting to meet you. We need to talk." The meeting took place in empty space, far from any Imperial outposts. Captain Kim had never seen a ship like the Indomitable before. It was sleek and white, with smooth curves instead of the sharp angles of Corvani warships. Strange blue lights ran along its hull, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ship was smaller than the Sovereign's Wrath, but the energy readings made Kim's sensors scream warnings. "It is beautiful," Lieutenant Commander Park said softly, studying the alien vessel on the main screen. "It is dangerous," Chief Engineer Lee added, watching the power displays. "Captain, their reactor output is 10 times what our ship produces. How is that possible?" Kim did not answer. He was still trying to understand what was happening. Admiral Choi had invited him aboard the human ship for a face-to-face meeting. Kim had agreed, but now he wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. "Shuttle bay is ready, Captain," the pilot reported. "Very well. So-min, Woo-jin, you are with me. Commander Hayes has the bridge." The shuttle ride to the Indomitable was short but tense. As they approached the human ship, Kim could see weapon systems he did not recognize. The shuttle bay doors opened smoothly, revealing a clean, bright space that looked nothing like Imperial design. Human crew members waited for them, wearing simple gray uniforms. They did not carry weapons, but they stood with confidence. A woman stepped forward as Kim and his officers left the shuttle. "Captain Kim," she said with a slight bow. "I am Admiral Hyun-Soo Choi. Welcome aboard the Indomitable." Kim studied the human admiral. She was shorter than him, with graying hair and intelligent eyes. She looked to be in her 50s, but moved with the grace of someone much younger. Her uniform bore no decorations except for simple rank insignia. "Admiral Choi," Kim replied, returning the bow. "These are my officers, Lieutenant Commander Park and Chief Engineer Lee. Please follow me. We have much to discuss." They walked through corridors that were wider and brighter than any Imperial ship Kim had seen. The walls were painted in soft colors, and plants grew in small gardens along the way. Crew members they passed nodded politely but did not stare. "Your ship is different," Kim said carefully. "We believe that people work better in pleasant surroundings," Admiral Choi replied. "A ship is home to its crew for months or years. It should feel like home." They entered a conference room with a large table and comfortable chairs. Windows showed the stars outside, and more plants decorated the corners. Admiral Choi gestured for them to sit, then poured tea from a simple pot. "Please help yourselves," she said. "The tea is from Earth, from Korea actually, Captain Kim. I thought you might appreciate it." Kim tasted the tea. It was unlike anything he had drunk before, but somehow familiar. "You said you have been waiting to meet me, Admiral." "Yes. The Terran Federation has been watching the Corvani Empire for many years, Captain. We know about the oppression, the conquered worlds, the suffering of billions of people. We also know about individuals who have tried to make things better." "Lieutenant," Commander Park leaned forward. "You have been watching us?" "Our long-range sensors are very good," Admiral Choi said simply. "We have seen Captain Kim's service record. When other commanders destroyed cities, he evacuated civilians. When others enslaved populations, he negotiated treaties. When others showed cruelty, he showed mercy." Kim felt uncomfortable. "I was following orders, Admiral." "No, Captain. You were choosing to interpret those orders with compassion. There is a difference." Chief Engineer Lee spoke up. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Choi set down her teacup. "The Terran Federation has decided that the Corvani Empire's reign of terror must end. Too many species have suffered for too long. We are here to offer the Empire a choice. Surrender. Peacefully or face the consequences." Kim stared at her. "You are threatening the Empire? With one ship?" "This is not the only ship, Captain. The Federation has many vessels, but more importantly, we have something the Empire has lost, which is the will to fight for what is right." Before Kim could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the human ship. Admiral Choi touched a device on her wrist. "Report," she said calmly. "Admiral, we are detecting a large Corvani fleet approaching. 100 ships led by the dreadnought Eternal Glory. They will arrive in 15 minutes. Kim's blood went cold. "Admiral Krenvok," he whispered. "You know him?" Admiral Choi asked. "He commands the 3rd Battle Fleet. He is not known for mercy, Admiral. You must leave this system immediately." Admiral Choi smiled. "Captain Kim, would you and your officers like to observe a demonstration of Federation technology?" "What do you mean?" "Please come with me to the bridge." The bridge of the Indomitable was unlike any command center Kim had ever seen. Instead of the cramped, dark spaces of Imperial ships, this bridge was open and bright. The crew worked at stations arranged in a circle, with the captain's chair in the center. Holographic displays showed information in 3 dimensions. "Admiral on the bridge," someone announced, but no one stood at attention. "Status report," Admiral Choi said, settling into her command chair. "Corvani fleet dropping out of hyperspace. In 3 minutes," the tactical officer reported. 107 vessels, including 12 heavy cruisers and 1 dreadnought. "Very well. Signal the fleet to remain at current positions. We will handle this ourselves." Kim grabbed the Admiral's arm. "Admiral, you do not understand. That is Admiral Krenvok. He has destroyed entire worlds. He will not negotiate. He will attack without warning." "I know exactly who he is, Captain," Admiral Choi said gently. We have been studying his tactics for years. On the main screen, space suddenly filled with Imperial ships. The massive dreadnought Eternal Glory led the formation, its black hull bristling with weapons. Kim had served on ships like that. He knew their power. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. On screen, Admiral Choi said. Admiral Krenvok appeared on the display. He was a large Corvani with scarred skin and cold eyes. His uniform was decorated with medals from a dozen conquered worlds. Unknown vessel, he said in a harsh voice. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to comply. Admiral Krenvok, Admiral Choi replied calmly. I am Admiral Hyun-Soo Choi of the Terran Federation. I suggest you withdraw your ships and avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Krenvok laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The Terran Federation? I have never heard of such a thing. You are one small ship against my entire fleet. Surrender now or watch your crew die. I gave you a chance, Admiral. The transmission ended. Kim turned to Admiral Choi. Admiral, please. He will carry out his threat. You must run. Captain Kim, please watch carefully. Your education is about to begin. On the tactical display, the Corvani ships began moving into attack formation. The Dreadnought's massive guns were charging, preparing to fire. Admiral, the tactical officer said quietly, all weapon systems are ready. Target their weapon systems only, Admiral Choi ordered. Disable, do not destroy. These people are not our enemies. They are victims of a corrupt system. Yes, ma'am. Firing. Kim had expected to see missile launches or plasma bolts. Instead, thin beams of blue light lanced out from the Indomitable. They struck the Corvani ships with perfect precision, hitting weapon systems, engine pods, and shield generators. The effect was immediate and devastating. Ship after ship went dark as their systems failed. The mighty Dreadnought's guns fell silent. Smaller vessels began drifting as their engines died. Impossible, Kim whispered. In less than 3 minutes, the entire Corvani fleet was helpless. Not one ship had been destroyed, but none could fight back. Communications officer, open a channel to Admiral Krenvok, Admiral Choi ordered. The scarred Corvani appeared on screen again, but now he looked shocked and afraid. What? What did you do to my ships? We disabled them, Admiral. Your crews are safe, but your weapons are not working. Now would you like to discuss terms? Or shall we disable your life support systems as well? For the first time in his life, Kim saw Admiral Krenvok speechless. Lieutenant Commander Park leaned close to Kim's ear. Captain, she whispered, they fight like they value life, even the lives of their enemies. Kim nodded slowly. Everything he thought he knew about warfare had just changed. The humans had defeated an entire battle fleet without killing a single person. On the screen, Admiral Krenvok was still struggling to understand what had happened. This is not possible. No one has weapons like this. Admiral Choi said gently, the age of conquest is ending. The age of cooperation is beginning. You can be part of that future, or you can cling to the past. The choice is yours. News of Admiral Krenvok's defeat spread across the Empire like wildfire. Within hours, every Imperial world had heard the impossible story. 100 Corvani warships defeated by a single unknown vessel. The mysterious ship had not destroyed the fleet, but disabled it completely. No one could understand how this was possible. Captain Kim stood in his quarters aboard the Sovereign's Wrath, reading reports from across the Empire. His ship was traveling back toward Imperial space, but everything was changing around them. On the communications screen, Admiral Choi's face appeared. Captain Kim, she said warmly, how are your crew handling the situation? They are confused, Admiral. We all are. In 3 days, you have changed everything we thought we knew about warfare. Change is never easy, Captain, but sometimes it is necessary. Kim looked at the reports in his hands. The Nexari rebellion on Crystal Prime has declared victory. The Threx hives are refusing all Imperial orders. 6 worlds have announced independence in the last 2 days. And how do you feel about that? Kim was quiet for a moment. For years, I have watched the Empire crush anyone who wanted freedom. I told myself I was just following orders, that I was keeping the peace, but now... He stopped, searching for the right words. Now you see that peace built on fear is not really peace at all, Admiral Choi said gently. Yes, my parents used to tell me stories about Earth, about humans who lived free among the stars. I thought they were just dreams. Your parents were wise people, Captain. They knew that freedom is not a dream. It is a choice. The communication ended, leaving Kim alone with his thoughts. A few minutes later, Lieutenant Commander Park entered his quarters. Captain, she said, I have been monitoring Imperial communications. Emperor Vextar is calling for all remaining fleets to gather at Corvus Prime. How many ships? Perhaps 1,500, maybe 2,000. He is desperate. Kim nodded. The Emperor would not surrender easily. What about the humans? How many ships do they have? That is the strange thing, Captain. Our sensors show only 12 human vessels in Imperial space. 12 ships against 2,000. 12? Kim stared at her. Are you certain? Yes, Captain. But their technology... Park brought up a holographic display. Each human ship seems to have the same impossible capabilities as the Indomitable. They are small, but their power readings are incredible. Kim studied the display. The human ships had names like Soul's Pride, Busan Dawn, and Jeju Defender. They moved through Imperial space like ghosts, appearing where they were needed, then vanishing again. They are not trying to conquer territory, Kim realized. They are protecting the freed worlds. Yes, Captain. Every time Imperial forces try to retake a rebellious planet, a human ship appears to stop them. A chime sounded, indicating an incoming message. On the screen appeared Captain Jin A-yoon, commander of the human destroyer Incheon's Fury. She was younger than Admiral Choi, with short black hair and bright eyes. Captain Kim, she said with a smile. I hope I am not interrupting. Not at all, Captain Yoon. How can I help you? Actually, I was hoping to help you. My ship is near your position, and I thought we might talk. Kim felt his heart race. Talk about what? About the future, Captain, about what comes next. An hour later, Kim found himself aboard another human ship. The Incheon's Fury was smaller than the Indomitable, but just as advanced. Captain Yoon met him in a comfortable lounge with large windows showing the stars. Please sit down, she said, offering him a cup of that strange earth tea. I have been reading about your service record, Captain Kim. Oh? Kim was not sure he wanted to know what the humans thought of his past. You have served the Empire for 15 years, Captain Yoon continued. But in all that time you have never destroyed a civilian target. You have never enslaved a population. You have never committed genocide. I was following my orders. No, Captain. You were choosing how to follow those orders. When Admiral Krenvok destroyed the Nexari colony on Bright Star, you were there. Your report said the colony was already abandoned when your ships arrived. Kim was quiet. He remembered that day. The colony had not been abandoned, but he had evacuated the civilians before Krenvok's attack, then lied in his report to protect them. How do you know about that? He asked. We have been watching the Empire for a long time, Captain. We know the difference between those who serve evil and those who try to do good within an evil system. Captain Yoon poured tea for both of them. The Terran Federation judges people by their actions, not by the uniform they wear. We know you are a good man, Captain Kim. The Empire is still my duty. Is it? Or is your duty to something higher than the Empire? Before Kim could answer, alarms sounded throughout the ship. Captain Yoon touched her communication device. Report, she said. Captain, we are detecting Imperial ships approaching the Nexari, homeworld of Crystal Prime. 20 vessels, including 2 heavy cruisers. They appear to be planning an attack on the civilian population. Captain Yoon looked at Kim. Captain, your people are about to attack a defenseless world. Millions of Nexari civilians will die. Kim felt sick. The Emperor must be trying to make an example, to scare other worlds from rebelling. Will you help us stop it? Kim stared at her. What do you mean? Come with us to Crystal Prime. Use your Imperial codes to contact the attacking fleet. Tell them to withdraw. They will not listen to me. Maybe not, but you will have tried to save lives instead of destroy them. Sometimes, Captain, that is the most important choice a person can make. Kim looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere, out there, Imperial ships were moving to attack innocent people. Somewhere else, Emperor Vextar sat on his throne, ordering the deaths of millions to keep his power. If I do this, Kim said slowly, I can never go back to the Empire. No, you cannot. But you can help us build something better. Kim closed his eyes and thought of his parents. They had told him stories about humans who chose freedom over safety, who stood up for what was right even when it was dangerous. Very well, Captain Yoon. I will help you. The trip to Crystal Prime took 6 hours. Kim spent the time in the human ship's communications center, preparing a message for the Imperial fleet. When they arrived at the Nexari homeworld, the sight made him feel even sicker. Crystal Prime was a beautiful world covered in crystal cities that caught and reflected sunlight in amazing patterns. But now, Imperial ships surrounded the planet, preparing to bombard it from orbit. Imperial fleet, Kim said into the communication system. This is Captain Dae-ho Kim of the Sovereign's Wrath. Identify your mission, Commander. A face appeared on the screen. Commander Yelkin, an old friend from the Imperial Academy. Dae-ho? Yelkin looked confused. What are you doing here? I am asking you to reconsider your mission, old friend. There are millions of civilians on that planet. Orders are orders, Dae-ho. The Emperor wants to make an example of the rebels. These are not rebels, Yelkan. They are people who want to be free. Commander Yelkan's face hardened. You sound like a traitor, Captain Kim. Maybe I am, Kim said quietly, but I will not stand by and watch genocide. The communication ended. Around Crystal Prime, the Imperial ships began charging their weapons. Captain Yoon, Kim said, can your ship stop them? We will try, Captain, but 20 ships are a lot, even for us. On the tactical display, Kim watched as the small human destroyer moved toward the Imperial fleet. It looked like a tiny fish swimming toward a school of sharks. But then something amazing happened. The human ship's weapons fired, and one by one the Imperial vessels went dark. Their engines failed, their weapons powered down, their shields collapsed. In minutes, the entire attack fleet was helpless. Impossible, Kim whispered. 1 ship against 20. Not impossible, Captain, Captain Yoon said with a smile. Just better technology and the will to use it for good. On the planet below, the crystal cities blazed with new light as the Nexari people celebrated their survival. In space above them, 20 Imperial ships drifted helplessly, their crews alive but defeated. What happens now? Kim asked. Now we give them the same choice we gave you, Captain. They can cling to the past or help us build a better future. Kim nodded, understanding at last. The Empire was not just losing battles. It was losing the war for the hearts and minds of its own people. Every act of mercy, every life saved, every choice to do good instead of evil was another crack in the Empire's foundation. The age of fear was ending. The age of hope was beginning. Emperor Vextar stood in the deepest vault beneath his palace, staring at the weapon that would either save his empire or destroy it completely. The device was ancient, built from technology stolen from dozens of conquered species over the centuries. It drew power from the life force of entire worlds, channeling that energy into a beam that could crack planets in half. My lord, General Kethmar said nervously, are you certain about this course of action? Certain? Vextar laughed bitterly. I am certain of nothing anymore, General. Half my fleet has surrendered to these humans. Entire worlds declare independence every day. Even my own nobles whisper about my removal. The Emperor walked around the massive weapon. It looked like a crystal mountain pulsing with dark energy. But I know one thing. If I cannot have an empire, then no one will. The weapon will destroy. Terra, yes, the general said carefully. But using it will drain the life force from every remaining imperial world. Billions of our own people will die. They will die as Corvani, not as slaves to alien masters. Vextar replied coldly. Begin. The charging sequence. Far away, aboard the human flagship Indomitable, former Captain Kim sat in the war room with Admiral Choi and her senior staff. The holographic display showed the Empire's remaining territory, now reduced to just 8 worlds. Red markers indicated Imperial fleet positions, while blue showed human and allied forces. The situation is changing rapidly, Admiral Choi said. 3 more Imperial commanders have requested asylum in the past 12 hours. Their crews are choosing freedom over fear. Lieutenant Commander Park, now serving as a tactical advisor to the human fleet, highlighted several areas on the map. However, we are detecting unusual energy readings from Corvus Prime. Something big is happening at the Imperial capital. Kim studied the readings. Those energy patterns, they are familiar. I have seen something like this before, in classified Imperial files. What kind of classified files? Admiral Choi asked. Files about the Emperor's secret weapons program. There were rumors of a planet-killer device, built from the technology of extinct species. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Chief, Engineer Lee, who had also joined the human forces, looked pale. Captain, if such a weapon exists and if the Emperor is desperate enough to use it, he would target Earth, Admiral Choi said quietly. Try to destroy our homeworld and demoralize our people. Kim nodded. But using that weapon would require enormous amounts of energy drawn from every remaining Imperial world. The Emperor would sacrifice his own people to strike at you. How long would it take to charge such a weapon? Park consulted her tactical computers. Based on these energy readings, perhaps 6 hours, maybe less. Admiral Choi stood up. Then we have very little time. All available ships will converge on Corvus Prime immediately. Admiral, Kim said carefully, there is another problem. The weapon is located deep beneath the Imperial Palace. It cannot be destroyed from orbit. Someone will have to infiltrate the palace and disable it from within. I volunteer for that mission, said a new voice from the doorway. Commander Tai Yang Shin, leader of the human special forces, entered the war room. He was a compact man, with quick eyes and steady hands. Commander Shin, Admiral Choi acknowledged. What do you need? A small team, maybe 6 people. We can use stealth shuttles to reach the planet's surface, then infiltrate the palace through the old maintenance tunnels. Kim shook his head. It will not work, Commander. The palace security systems are too advanced. They will detect any intruders long before you reach the weapon. What do you suggest? Kim looked at Lieutenant Commander Park. We need someone with Imperial access codes and the technical knowledge to hack into the weapon's control systems quickly. Park's crystalline skin shifted color, a sign of deep thought in her species. Captain, the weapon's targeting system will require an Imperial access code of the highest level. And because it was built using Nexari technology, it will need someone who can interface with crystalline computer systems. You, Kim realized, you are the only person who has both Imperial clearance and Nexari technological abilities. Yes, Park said simply. I can do it. But I will need to access the weapon directly, connect my neural implants to its control systems. It will be very dangerous. Admiral Choi looked around the room. The risks are enormous. If we fail, Earth could be destroyed, and billions of Imperial citizens will die from the weapon's power drain. And if we do nothing, Kim said, the same thing happens. At least this way we have a chance. The human admiral nodded slowly. Very well. Commander Shin, prepare your team. Lieutenant Commander Park, you will accompany them. Captain Kim, I want you to coordinate the space battle above Corvus Prime. Space battle? Kim asked. Yes. The Emperor will not leave his capital undefended. We will face whatever remains of his fleet, plus the orbital defense platforms around the planet. 3 hours later, 12 human ships dropped out of hyperspace. At the edge of the Corvus Prime system, they found themselves facing nearly 800 Imperial vessels, the last loyal forces in the Empire. The ships formed a defensive wall around the planet, their weapons trained on the approaching human fleet. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Kim watched the tactical display with growing concern. Admiral, those are not just any ships. The Emperor has called in his personal guard fleet. The best crews, the newest weapons, the most fanatical loyalty. How long until the weapon is ready to fire? Admiral Choi asked. Based on the energy readings, perhaps 3 hours. Park's voice came over the communication system. She was already aboard Commander Shin's stealth shuttle, preparing for the infiltration mission. Then we hold them here for 3 hours, Admiral. Choi said simply. No matter what it takes. The battle began immediately. The Imperial Guard fleet attacked with desperate fury, knowing this was their last chance to save the Empire. But the human ships moved like dancers among the enemy formations, their weapons precisely targeting engines and weapon systems while avoiding crew quarters. Kim watched in amazement as the Indomitable weaved between massive Imperial dreadnoughts, its shields absorbing hits that should have destroyed it. The human ship's weapons responded with surgical strikes that left enemy vessels helpless but intact. Admiral, the tactical officer reported. The Soul's Pride is taking heavy damage. Captain Han is requesting permission to withdraw. Denied, Admiral Choi said firmly. We hold the line here. If any Imperial ships get through, they could stop the infiltration team. On the planet's surface, Commander Shin and his team moved through the ancient tunnels beneath the Imperial Palace. The passages were old and dark, built by some long-forgotten species that the Empire had conquered centuries ago. Energy readings are getting stronger, Park whispered into her communicator. We are close to the weapon chamber. They emerged into a vast underground cavern filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with dark energy. In the center stood the Planet Killer weapon, a massive device that hurt to look at directly. By all the stars, one of the human soldiers whispered. What have they built? A monster, Park said quietly. She approached the weapon's control console, her crystalline skin beginning to glow as she prepared to interface with the alien technology. Back in space, the battle was turning against the humans. Despite their advanced technology, they were vastly outnumbered. The Soul's Pride was dead in space, its engines destroyed. The Busan Dawn was fighting off 4 Imperial cruisers at once. Admiral, Kim said urgently, we are running out of time. The guard fleet is breaking through our lines. Status report from the infiltration team, Admiral Choi ordered. Commander Shin's voice crackled over the communicator. We have reached the weapon, Admiral. Park is attempting to access the control systems now. In the weapon chamber, Lieutenant Commander Park had connected her neural implants to the alien device. Her consciousness moved through layers of complex programming, searching for the systems that controlled the weapon's targeting and firing sequence. It is beautiful and terrible, she said, her voice strange and distant. So much power, built from the suffering of conquered worlds. I can feel the pain of the extinct species whose technology was used to create this thing. Can you disable it? Commander Shin asked. I think so, but the targeting system is already locked onto Earth, and the charging sequence is in its final phase. Above them, the planet shook as debris from the space battle began falling into the atmosphere. Several Imperial ships had broken through the human defensive line and were bombarding the planet's surface. Park, Kim's voice came over the communicator. You have to hurry. The weapon will fire in 30 minutes. I know, Captain. I am trying to reprogram the targeting system, but the Emperor has built in multiple safeguards. Every time I bypass one security system, 2 more activate. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Choi watched her fleet taking heavy casualties. They had held the Imperial forces for over 2 hours, but the cost was becoming too high. Admiral, the communications officer announced, incoming transmission from Emperor Vextar himself. The main screen flickered, showing the Corvani Emperor standing in his throne room. Behind him, Kim could see the energy readings from the weapon chamber. Below, Human Admiral, Vextar said with a cold smile. Your fleet fights bravely, but it fights for nothing. In the depths of the Imperial Palace, Lieutenant Commander Park made her choice. Her crystalline skin blazed with light as she pushed her consciousness deeper into the weapon's control systems, ignoring the feedback that threatened to destroy her mind. I can see the targeting matrix, she said. her voice echoing strangely through the communication system. "It is locked onto Earth, but I can redirect it. The question is where?" "Can you shut it down completely?" Commander Shin asked. "No. The weapon has too much energy stored. It must fire, or it will explode and destroy this entire planet. I can only change the target." Above them, the space battle reached its climax. The human fleet was down to 8 ships, but they had destroyed or disabled most of the Imperial Guard fleet. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Kim watched the tactical display with growing desperation. "Admiral," he said, "the weapon will fire in 10 minutes. Even if Park can redirect it, where can she safely aim it?" Admiral Choi studied the star charts. "The Corvus system has 3 dead moons. If she can target one of them instead of Earth, it might work," Kim agreed. "But she would have to maintain the neural link until the weapon fires. The feedback could kill her." In the weapon chamber, Park heard their conversation. She had already made her peace with the possibility of death. For too long, she had served an empire that crushed the dreams of her people. Now she had a chance to help build something better. "Captain Kim," she said softly, "please tell my family on Crystal Prime that I chose to serve something greater than myself." "Park, you are going to survive this," Kim said firmly. "That is an order." "Yes, sir," she said with a smile in her voice. "I will try." The weapon's energy output spiked. Throughout the remaining Imperial worlds, lights dimmed as the device drew power from every living thing in the Empire. On planets across Imperial space, people collapsed as their life force was drained to fuel the Emperor's desperate gambit. "Energy at 90%, Park reported. "Targeting system, changing now." In his throne room, Emperor Vexistar watched the weapon's status displays. Everything was proceeding according to plan. In minutes, the human homeworld would be destroyed, and the galaxy would know that the Corvani Empire could not be defeated. But then the displays began showing strange readings. The weapon was still charging, but something was wrong with the targeting system. "General Kethmar," Vextar shouted. "What is happening?" The general rushed to the control panel, his face pale. "My lord, someone is accessing the weapon's systems. The targeting matrix is being altered." "That is impossible. Only you and I have access codes." "Yes, my lord, but someone with Imperial clearance and advanced technical knowledge could potentially—" The general stopped, understanding flooding his face. "The Nexari officer, the one who served under Captain Kim." Vextar's claws scraped against his throne. "Find her. Kill her. Now." But it was too late. In the depths of the palace, Park had successfully redirected the weapon's aim. Instead of Earth, it now targeted the 3rd moon of Corvus Prime, a dead rock with no life to destroy. "Targeting change complete," she reported. "Weapon will fire in 3 minutes." The feedback from the neural link was becoming unbearable. Park's crystalline skin was cracking, her body unable to handle the massive energy flowing through her consciousness. But she held on, knowing that millions of human lives depended on her. Above the planet, the space battle suddenly stopped. Both human and Imperial ships detected the weapon's energy signature reaching critical levels. Everyone knew what was about to happen. "All ships, this is Admiral Choi," came the broadcast. "The weapon is about to fire. Take evasive action." On the palace's surface, Imperial guards rushed toward the weapon chamber, but Commander Shin and his team held them back. The human special forces fought desperately in the corridors, knowing that they only needed to buy a few more minutes. "Park," Kim's voice came over the communicator. "Energy at 98%. You need to disconnect from the system now." "Not yet, Captain. I have to make sure the targeting lock holds. If I disconnect too early, the weapon might revert to its original target. You will die if you stay connected. Perhaps, but Earth will live." In his throne room, Emperor Vextar watched his dream of ultimate victory crumble. His weapon was about to fire, but not at the target he wanted. His empire was falling apart, his people were dying to power the device, and he had nothing left but his pride. "My lord," General Kethmar said quietly, "perhaps it is time to consider surrender." Vextar turned on him with rage. "Surrender? The Corvani Empire does not surrender." "My lord, The Empire is already gone. Look around you. We are the last loyal world, and even here, people are dying from the weapon's power drain. What are we fighting for? Before Vextar could answer, the weapon reached full power. Deep beneath the palace, the ancient device prepared to unleash 8 centuries of accumulated energy. Weapon firing in 10 seconds, Park announced. Her voice was weak now, her consciousness barely holding together under the massive strain. 9, 8, 7. Throughout the galaxy, sensors detected the energy buildup. On Earth, people looked up at the stars, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, their fate was being decided. 4, 3, 2. Park felt the weapon systems lock onto their new target, the dead moon hanging in space above Corvus Prime. 1. Firing. The weapon discharged its energy in a beam of pure destruction that lit up the entire star system. It struck the targeted moon and tore it apart, sending fragments spinning into space. The release of energy was so massive that it created artificial aurora in the atmospheres of nearby planets. But Earth, 8,000 light-years away, remained safe. In the weapon chamber, Park collapsed as the neural feedback finally overwhelmed her. Her crystalline body was cracked and dim, but she was alive. Commander Shin and his medic rushed to her side. Status report. Admiral Choi's voice came over the communicator. Target destroyed, Admiral, Commander Shin reported. The weapon is completely drained. It will never fire again. And Park is alive. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Kim felt tears of relief running down his face. Around him, the human crew cheered quietly. They had done the impossible. They had stopped a planet-killer weapon and saved their homeworld. In the Imperial throne room, Emperor Vextar stared at the displays showing the weapon's discharge. His ultimate gambit had failed. His empire was gone. His people were exhausted from the power drain, and still, the human ships hung in space above his planet, waiting. "My lord," General Kethmar said softly. "Admiral Choi is requesting a meeting." Vextar slumped in his throne. For the first time in his long life, he felt truly defeated. "Very well," he said quietly. "Let them come." An hour later, Admiral Choi entered the Imperial throne room. She was accompanied by Kim, who had volunteered to serve as translator and witness. The great chamber was empty except for a few guards, and General Kethmar, Emperor Vextar, looked older than his centuries of age. His scaled skin was dull, his yellow eyes tired. "Admiral Choi," he said in a voice like distant thunder, "you have won. What do you want from me?" "I want to ask you a question, Your Majesty," Admiral Choi replied. "In all your years of ruling, all your conquests and victories, were your people ever truly happy?" Vextar was quiet for a long moment. I do not understand the question. Did your empire ever create anything beautiful? Did it ever help someone who could not help themselves? Did it ever choose mercy over power?" The Emperor stared at her. "The Empire brought order to the galaxy." "No, Your Majesty. The Empire brought fear." "But fear is not order. It is just fear." Admiral Choi walked closer to the throne. "The Terran Federation offers you and your people a chance to be part of something better. A galactic community based on cooperation instead of conquest, on helping each other instead of hurting each other. And if I refuse, then you will sit on this throne alone, ruling over empty worlds while the rest of the galaxy moves forward without you." Emperor Vextar looked around his empty throne room. He thought of the weapon that had drained his people's life force for nothing. He thought of the centuries of war and oppression that had led to this moment. "What would become of me?" he asked quietly. "That would be up to you, Your Majesty. You could retire in peace, or you could help us rebuild what your empire destroyed. The choice is yours." For the first time in 800 years, Emperor Vextar stepped down from his throne. As he walked toward Admiral Choi, Kim saw something unexpected in the old emperor's eyes. Hope. "The Corvani Empire is ended," Vextar said formally. "I place myself and my people under the protection of the Terran Federation." 3 months later, Kim stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting Corvus Prime. The planet below was changing rapidly. Construction crews from dozens of species worked together to build schools, hospitals, and parks where there had once been only military bases. Lieutenant Commander Park approached him, walking slowly but steadily. Her crystalline skin was still cracked from her ordeal, but she was healing. "How are you feeling?" Kim asked. "Different," she said with a smile. "Better. For the first time in my life, I am serving something I truly believe in." "And what is that?" "Hope, Captain. Simple hope that tomorrow can be better than today." Through the observation windows, they could see human ships working alongside vessels from the former Imperial species.